I have no clue today. I know it's Sunday. Today is Sunday. Okay, hang on. The 29th. Today's the 29th. Say it like you know it. It's the 29th. I kind of knew that because yesterday was the 28th and the ARG had a thing going on that was going to quit on the 28th. The ARG for No Man's Sky. I'm sorry, I assume that everyone knows what that is. I'm not doing well today. Today's not one of my better days, but that's because I didn't sleep well Friday night, and because I wasn't sleeping well, I just got up and played Fortnite all night and got to the level I wanted to get to so I could get the special little outfit that I wanted. Free. Alright, so today is not a rambling video, even though it started out that way. It is Know Thyself Day. And today is a TV series, and it's going to be one from my childhood. So some of you may know of it. From what I understand, lots of people know of it. It's the Addams Family. Now, like all things, I am always so clueless to the expanding pop part of it, the rest of it, the pop culture part of it. So I didn't know there was an American Family musical, which is started in October for its world tour. Nathan Lane did it. That'd been awesome to see Nathan Lane be Gomez Addams. He was more like the Raul Juliet who did Addams Family in the movies in the 90s. So that would have been awesome. I like Nathan Lane anyway. I think he's an awesome Broadway actor and awesome actor. My favorite movie with him in, besides Mousetrap, is was there on the top of my head? Birdcage with Robin Williams. All right, so let's get on with the Addams Family. So the Addams Family, if you don't know, and maybe you don't, was created by Charles Addams. Now, originally, it was single-panel cartoons, which were in the New Yorker. Now, I never read the New Yorker till I was older, so it never clicked to me until I was older. Then I realized who it was, and then, but I didn't want to. When I first started watching the Addams Family, my fondest memories are about fourth, fifth grade, which is 1975 or so. So almost 10 years after it was released. So it only had 2 seasons. And it was in black and white. That's how it was filmed, and that's how it was released. And I would run home from school, hoping I wasn't in trouble, hoping I didn't get in trouble, because I'd be grounded and wouldn't be able to watch the episodes, and then I would miss them, even though they rerun them and everything, and the flow of them. But they didn't really have, they were sitcoms, so they didn't really have a flow except for, what built on from the last one to the next one to the next one. Love the Addams Family. It was my favorite show. When it came back in reruns throughout on cable and stuff, I sat and watched it with my kids. I bought the DVD. I have the DVD of the original. I didn't know there was that many others. The only other one I knew of was in the 90s when they did an animated cartoon of it. And I watched that one for a while, but it wasn't like the old one. So I didn't really enjoy it much. But it had lots of stuff. Besides the movies that came out, Family Values and the Addams Family Values one. And the reunion one with Tim Curry and Daryl Hannah. I knew of that too. But I didn't know anything about a musical. I would have been overjoyed about a musical. I did know they were in the Scooby-Doo show. The movies, those little movies they make of famous, like the Globetrotters. It was Scooby-Doo and the Globetrotters, and the Addams Family was in a Scooby-Doo movie. I remember that one. And I kind of vaguely remember the Addams Family Funhouse, but I don't think I remember it when it came out in the 70s. I think it was something I probably saw later on. So that's about them, okay? So Charles Addams drew this satirical cartoon about a wealthy family who was on the bit of the macabre, darker side, okay? That's what the premises of the cartoons were. And originally, I think it was a joke on, maybe his intent, it was a joke on rich people and how they can get away with, like if you're extremely wealthy, you get away with these really eccentric kind of things. But I didn't take it that way. I saw it as there was this family and they were all uniquely different, but they were all bounded by their differentness, and they didn't seem to be aware that no one else was like them. Like, they didn't know they were different. They didn't see that. That or they didn't care. I mean, that could be it too. But it always seemed to me that it was kind of the first they were unaware, and then when they became kind of aware that these other people were different, they just didn't care. Like, they didn't reflect on there must be something wrong with me. It was more there must be something wrong with all of them. And I like that. That's very egocentrical, but you know, I like that because we live in a society, at least for me growing up, where the definite gender roles and rules were very hard to get past. And when you did try to push past them, the outcome was not ever positive. It usually was very negative. In fact, I put in my Twitter today something someone said to me even now, you know, in passing, was I was at the game store looking for something. And this guy says, oh, I play that game. It's really good if you're looking for something for, you know, your kids. And I said, oh, no, I was looking for something for me. And he stopped and he looked at me and he goes, he goes, I don't take this raw, but you seem a bit old to like video games. And I said, oh, I'm a grandma. I like video games. That's my grandson. And I pointed to my grandson. And I said, I play online a lot. Do you want to play? And he looked at me and said, well, not really, because, you know, people who are old are slow, and girls aren't very good at video games for lots of reasons. His being that they couldn't deal with the violence. They got upset with the violence. I don't know who he hangs out with, but everybody should get upset about violence. But violence in video games is different than violence in the real world. But so I was like, just kind of looked at him and went, oh, okay, you know. I was like, but he didn't realize how sexist he sounded. And ageist, I guess, if you buy into the age thing. I do think there are people who are prejudiced against you because of your age. But it's a little easier to get around, I think. But maybe not if you want to be a model or something. Maybe it's harder. I don't know. Never come across that. I get people all the time are like, wow, you're old and you like video games. Oh my God, and you can really play. That's what I usually get. Or I always say, I don't play very good. And they're like, but you play pretty good. You play as good as I do. That's awesome. Or not so. So back to the Addams family, though. That's what I liked about them. You know, my childhood, from my point of view, it's always from my point of view because that's all we can say, it lacked a lot of that cohesiveness. It was fun if, like, my grandmother and my grandfather were around. It's kind of like that, you know. Because there was a whole family in that, and then I was swept up into that, and there were lots of people, and they were eccentric and had things that they liked too, and unique and all that. But the Addams family, the mother and the father loved each other. The mother loved the kids, the father loved the kids. They loved the extended family. You know, if they got in an argument, they tried to work it out, and they shared in their uniqueness, and they supported each other in their uniqueness. And even, I think there was one episode where they wanted to be different from their different. Wednesday or Pugsley, one of them, wanted to become more normal, you know, and that they supported them, you know, in it. I think in the movies too, they kind of have that bout where the kids are. Oh no, it's because the older kids don't really like the younger cat, the baby that's coming, and so there's that whole, you know, worrisome of becoming different, I guess, and I don't think they were worried about them not liking the baby. It just seemed like they were worried that they weren't being, their usual self. That was a bit of a burp, sorry, for my knee. So that's why I like the Addams family. I mean, I always like the idea of people liking each other, because sometimes in my house, my parents would dance, or they would hang out with each other, they would talk, or they would be like, you know, you thought of as married couples. And then, but it was always that weirdness of walking on needles, waiting for the floor to drop out from underneath you. So even when in my family everybody was being normal, they weren't really being, there was always that wait period of time when things weren't going to be the way they were supposed to be. And the way they were supposed to be, it was the reflection of what you saw in that little box, the TV show. And everybody, talks about that. But it's not just the little box. It's when you walk outside and you're walking around in your neighborhood, or you're walking around in banks, or banks was one of the things I always remembered seeing people in. And in grocery stores, in the mall, there's a normalcy that, even if it's not true, coats everything we do. And so lately, since the 90s, I'd say, maybe before that, but definitely, no, and since the 80s, since punk rock, for me, and rock, there seems to be this need to delve into the other side, the darker side. But it doesn't necessarily mean even the darker side, just the other side of what is acceptable. So, like tattoos. When I was a kid, very few people had tattoos. I don't think I ever remember meeting a single woman that had a tattoo until I was older. And so, maybe they hid them. I remember I was probably in my adulthood when my mother told me that she was going to get a little tattoo of a butterfly on her hip. And I was like, okay. Because that was the thing you did when you were trying to rebel against who you were, or you were trying to move out into a different kind of person, to be all hop and hip and cool and know what was going on. And I think that even though when you're different, there's that underlining need to kind of connect with people who are like you, to find those people that want to have a lion in their basement, or a dragon as a pet, or who play D&D, or wear tattoos, or have earplugs, or shave their head, or like punk music. There's that need to find more people like you. And then as I got older, I found that there were more and more people who were bunching together around a certain thing. So, and you can see it now too. There's tons and tons of social clubs about tattoos. There's tons and tons of social clubs about unique haircuts. There's tons and tons of stuff out there about existentialism and being one with the planet. All those things that in my past would have gotten you to be branded as a loony bin, or just the weirdo that no one want to hang out with, are now mainstream. And it's kind of exciting, and then kind of not. So it's kind of great that everybody knows about comic books because of the movies, but it's kind of not, because you can't have, sometimes it's hard to have a conversation about something you love without these people acting or saying to you like, well, I know all about Captain America. I seen all 3 movies. And you read the comic book, right? No, I haven't read the comic book. Okay. So, it's that there's a missing gap sometimes, and I'm not, it seems slightly pretentious of me and arrogant, but I'm not trying to throw it out there that they're not any more avid fans. It's just that you can't have the same kind of conversation. It almost feels like being the outsider again, because I know too much about something when you don't know enough about something. So Addams Family, there's cosplayers. People were very excited about the Addams Family. I'd assume there would have been cosplayers. That wouldn't have amazed me at all. But I love, when you say Addams Family, everybody knows the Click 6. Most people know the Click 6 song. But when I was in 4th grade, there wasn't nobody that was watching the Addams Family that I knew of that I could share with. At least I don't think so. Maybe a couple of my friends watched them with me. But I was an avid, like I was an avid comic book or a reader or something, and I wanted to talk about, oh, did you see the latest episode about, what would it be like to wear a black shimmery dress like Elvira and Morticia? Those triggering images in your life that you could be free and be different and it'd be okay. Now, if we looked at, the Addams Family, sometimes it wasn't okay for them, but because of that total, blinded tunnel vision, they just plowed through it anyway. What do you mean not everybody's like this? Oh, they felt pity for the people, Oh, that's so sad. But they were such sweet people. They were so nice that it was really great. I think that was kind of, when I watched other sitcoms, that's kind of what I was looking for, even if they weren't, over the ballpark crazy, they still had that connection that made them a family. I always liken the idea, and people are going to laugh at me, as Rosanna and Addams family. Because Rosanna's story, though it's supposed to be like people around us, it was even, for me, a little bit more out there for me. Because I was a single parent with a kid. I didn't have any, I wasn't, working class. I didn't have any connection to that whole system that I was in until I started working with people that were also in the same system or the same status quo. The New Yorker, which is what ran the Addams Family cartoons by Charles Addams, wrote a lot about what was going on in New York. That's how it started out, and then it became more about the rest of the world, but based from the New York idea. So it's kind of an interesting magazine to look at because it also still is talked about group. So I think it was the idea that there could be groups out there. Even though that was a TV show, and part of me knew it was a TV show, the idea that even though people were laughing at them because they were doing these stupid, weird, crazy stuff, I still thought there might be a chance that there'd be people out there that were like me that loved them as a family. Like, I wanted to be part of the Addams family. I wanted to be the Addams family. And then as I got older and I started hanging out with people who were into goth and other things like that, I met families. They were like the Addams family. Like their favorite TV show to sit down and watch was Nightmare on Elm Street. And they thought nothing of, like the ear soap. I don't know if any of you guys seen one of the Walking Dead things was you could get a string of ear soaps. They didn't think anything. Their houses would be done like that. There's a goth lady on here that I watch. I think she's the goth queen, I think is what she's called, but I'd have to look her up. I'll put it in. I'll share it. Who is like that? She's like the Addams family, living and breathing, very Victorian, gothic style. And it's cool. It's not me anymore, but it's cool. That's where I wanted to go. I tried very hard to live my life. It's mostly more about comic books and animation and video games that I was connected to rather than, gothic or emo or punk or any of that stuff. Though in the 80s, I had quite the ensemble of, new wave stuff. So, yeah, I think that looking to be different and not part of the masses is what Addams Family meant for me. And knowing that you could have a family and everybody be like that. All right, so that's it. I'm not sure when this will be popped up. I'll leave some links. Before I go, though, there's a quote that I wanted to read because I really liked it. And one of the books I want to get now, and I knew they made books of the Addams Family. I'd seen them, but I hadn't seen this one, which came out in 2010, so I'm a little late. It's called The Addams Family and Evolution. And it was put together by a guy who I couldn't even pronounce his name. It's like Kevin, wait a minute, Kevin Misarachi maybe. And so I'd really like this because what it goes to is it takes each of the characters and does a timeline and talks about past stuff. And that'd be a cool kind of collective thing. And so the opening note in it was, Charles Addams set out not to create a family, but rather a suggestion how society as a whole might interpret characters bent on the darker side while living lives similar to those embracing the light. Always described as strange, eerie, odd, and spooky, the family nevertheless had many of the same joys and woes that all the families experience. For example, keeping the house in order, seeing the children take responsibility for the welfare of their pets. However, delightfully refreshing that they had a trap door and a secret panel for the carpenter to fix, that the children arrived home from camp in pet carriers, and that at least one pet was a small dragon. So that right there kind of summed it up for me too, that even though they were weird on the outside, in the inside they were like the rest of us. And I think the need in my life that odd equals the same as normal was really, really important. Even though I didn't really want to be normal, I just didn't want to be treated like I was odd. Alright, catch you all on the flip side. I'm out of here. Peace. Love to you all. I hope I feel better. Hope you feel better.